Hey everyone, my name is Robin Wata and welcome to the Xtra Sznd Podcast, a podcast for people who are extra and love their food seasoned. So I'm going to need all the Palangi people to move up here and then go to the back of the bus immediately. Right now. I'm just playing. Everybody is welcome here, but I wanted to do a short little introduction of myself. So again, my name is Robin. I am a Tongan Libra based in Utah, and I am happily married to my beautiful Filipino wife, and we have 2 kids together. I grew up most of my life out here in Utah, and over the past decade, I have been doing freelance work within creative spaces, and ultimately, I work as a fashion stylist, and I've been able to take on the title of many roles like creative director, editor-in-chief, and now podcast host. And I personally have always been somebody who needs a creative outlet in order to pursue like passion projects or things that I'm really interested in. And this podcast is just a manifestation of things that I've been thinking about over the past few months. A lot of you guys may have been introduced to me from a magazine that I launched called Pacificus. I remember starting Pacificus in around like 2019, and in 2020 I was able to make my first printed issue, and being able to get this magazine in the hands of people around the world was such a cool experience. It was definitely a career highlight. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with Pacificus, it was a magazine that I launched that highlighted Pacifica creatives around the world. And the reason why I created that magazine is because for me, growing up in the Pacific Islander community, I didn't feel like people in our community who pursued a career in creative spaces, I don't feel like they got the accolades or kind of like the praise that they deserved, because there were people who were really huge disruptors within these spaces who were doing incredible things and breaking glass ceilings. And I wanted to give them their praise. I wanted to give them their flowers. And so Pacificus was a way for me to do that. I think some of you guys may have read this in the previous issues of the magazine itself, but I remember I'm a huge Beyonce fan, but there is a Vogue cover shoot that she did in 2018, and she had hand selected somebody to be her photographer, and it was Ty Mitchell. And out of like 150 years of Vogue being a publication, that was the first time that they had had a Black photographer shoot the cover of Vogue. And for me, I remember reading that and just being stunned. And then I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take for a Pacific Islander to shoot the cover of Vogue. And it kind of made me a little sad, because I was like, I don't think I want to wait 150 years for that to happen. And so rather than waiting for Vogue to present the opportunity, I decided to make my own damn magazine. So I had no background in creating a magazine. I wouldn't consider myself a writer under any circumstances, but it was something that I was so adamant about and so passionate about. And so I got to work. I started finding incredible people within the creative community who happen to be of Pacific Islander descent. And so I asked them if they wanted to participate in my magazine, interviewed them, kind of wrote articles, different things like that. I was able to bring people on board at one point, and that was great. But that was kind of like the start of my fashion career turning into something more. And again, with the magazine, I saw a lot of success with it. I only ended up making 4 printed issues, but I learned so much, and I feel like I wanted to continue where the magazine left off and be able to still give flowers to those who are putting in the work. And so Pacificus is kind of transitioning into the Xtra Sznd Podcast, where we're going to utilize this platform and still do something that's uplifting for our community, talk about fashion. We're going to talk about personal development and so much more. And I can't wait to kind of do a deep dive with the various guests that I'll bring on, and for you to be able to ask them questions as well. I know some of you guys may be tuning in and rolling your eyes saying, why the hell do we need another podcast in this world? But honestly, this is just something that has been heavy on my mind. And when an idea comes to my mind like that, I have to pursue it. I have to see it to the end. So whether or not this podcast is successful, just knowing that I did what I needed to do just brings so much satisfaction for me. So just know it's probably more for me than it is for you, but I hope that you guys can see what I'm trying to do with this podcast and really find joy and get inspired by the people who are going to be on here. Again, with like Pacificus magazine, I think what was so cool about it was that it was kind of like the first of its kind. And we just didn't have any platform like that, like a magazine that was just for Pacific Islanders and sharing our culture and creativity and building up our community. And I only was able to create 4 printed issues just because it was so taxing. Like every single detail like had to be strategically executed, and I just was spread a little too thin. One thing about me is that, again, my background as a creative is in fashion. And so walking into a space like Pacificus, where I had to be the social media manager, I had to be the editor in chief, I had to be a creative writer, I had to be a project manager and plan photo shoots and different things like that. It was really taxing. At the time we were pregnant with our second kid, I was like transitioning into a different job. So many different things were going on, and I just don't think I was able to kind of give it the love that it deserved. And so I kind of put it to rest after our 4th issue. But for those of you guys who do have any of those Pacificus magazines, shout out to you. You a real one. So if you guys remember in Pacificus, I created a hashtag Pacific Season, and that was actually inspired by a song by Dinah Jane. Tease up for Dinah. But she has a song called Seasons, and it kind of just stuck. And so I created Pacific Season, and I wanted to kind of play with that even more as I transition Pacificus into this podcast. So the Xtra Sznd Podcast is something that just stuck, and I decided to run with it. I remember brainstorming with my oldest sister Juliet about it, and we brought it up, and I was like, no, I think like paying like an homage to Pacificus would be a cool way to do that. And so including season the way that I did was really clever. The extra part, I love this because my wife and I were hella extra. If you guys know us, you know that we don't half-ass anything. And if we're going to do something, we're going to go the whole 9 yards. We're going to do the whole shebang. And something that me and my wife always joke about is we say, if it ain't extra, it ain't us. And if it ain't extra, it ain't worth my time. And so that's where the extra part of the podcast name comes about. And then you have the seasoned part from Pacificus. But when I was brainstorming with my sister Juliet, the seasoned part, you can take it so many different ways. It can be like, what season of life are you in? A season of clothing, like a fashion brand or a collection. We could do what season of TV show are you watching? Even like, how do you season your food? Or the seasoned professionals that are going to be coming onto this podcast and sharing their experiences. I just love that it gives like such a broad array of topics. And I didn't want this to be a podcast that just talked about fashion. I wanted it to have substance. I wanted to include culture, to include like personal development, different things like that. So you're going to see a lot of that here. I know a lot of you guys may be sitting there and rolling your eyes saying, why the hell do we need another podcast in the world? And honestly, I'm sitting here in this chair wondering the same damn thing. But I promise you that we are going to have incredible guests. We're going to have incredible experiences that are going to be shared. I personally just want to be somebody who creates a platform that is inspiring and encouraging to help you do whatever you're passionate about and fulfill your purpose in life. And hopefully you'll be able to get inspired and really listen to the things that are said on the various topics that are being shared on here. And hopefully it strikes a chord with you. So be sure to follow us on social media and tune in for our next episode. See you guys soon.